Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, we're going to continue marching on. We got some news and notes, and we now have interior offensive linemen to go through, thanks to Mr. Robert McGinn. So why don't we start with this? I actually talked about it yesterday. It's been in my notes forever. For those that are not listeners to Packernet After Dark or missed it or whatever, I had mentioned that Rob Domofsky has reported, and this was maybe a week ago or so, that the Packers are still looking to trade Jaire, and apparently that's coming from two sources on both sides of the issue. So they talked to a team source as well as a source in Jaire's camp, and there is agreement that that is happening and that it's going to happen. They essentially don't really have any urgency to do it until the start of the season. And so that is sort of the cutoff there. And apparently the Packers have not even tried to negotiate with Jaire in terms of, maybe taking a pay cut or anything like that. The other side of that is that apparently, according to Jaire's camp, they would not accept it even if they offered. So there's no point in even trying. So bottom line is this thing is it's cooked, right? It's the Packers are either going to trade him or they're not, and they're going to just release him. And as I said there too, that does not count as far as compensatory picks. That's not how that whole thing works. He has to be a free agent for that, so we don't even get that benefit. So you might as well get whatever you can for Jaire, and I guess just call it a day. In other news, I mentioned this yesterday as well, but Trey Lance, quarterback drafted by the 49ers, officially going to the CFL's Saskatchewan Roughriders. So it's been a rough road for the new Rough Rider. New York Giants officially have signed quarterback Russell Wilson, formerly of the Steelers, to a one-year, $21 million contract. So that kind of slams that door as far as Rodgers, although I doubt that was ever going to happen, but it also takes another quarterback off the market. So we're really just kind of zooming in on the thing that's probably going to happen, which is Rodgers to the Steelers, but we'll have to see. Stefon Diggs is also off the market. The Patriots, I think it was. Yeah, Patriots signed him to a 3-year, $69 million contract. Just $26 million of that is guaranteed. So you figure $23 million per year is not a super big contract for a top-tier wide receiver. And no, I'm not saying he is. That's the point. But then you figure it's really like a 3-year, $9 million a year contract when you look at it in terms of guarantees. But 31 years old, coming off a torn ACL, it just kind of has run its course, I think. Speaking of Rodgers to the Steelers, again, nothing really concrete, but you got just a bunch of smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing. Just a ton of it. You got Antonio Brown saying people can keep doubting Aaron Rodgers is a Steeler, has been a Steeler, and Antonio Brown and CTESPN was the first to report it. I hate to tell him, I don't think he was the first to report it, but I do think that he's obviously talking to people in the organization. He's got a ton of contracts, probably Tomlin himself, that have relayed to him that it's pretty much a done deal. Why it hasn't come out yet, who knows? Maybe they're, he likes to be in control of the way it comes out too. Remember with the Jets, he wanted to be able to talk about it on Pat McAfee and whatnot, so it could be one of those things, or who knows? I don't know. But again, it's more of the same. It's almost assuredly going to happen. Hasn't happened. Just continue waiting. LeRoy Butler did an interview recently over at golongtd.com. Again, be sure to check it out if you want to. It's a whole long podcast, but a couple little notes on that. One of the things I've been talking about on the other podcast, Packernet After Dark, is whether or not I want to go, and it kind of depends what they got going on up there. Again, in my very pessimistic mind, it's just an empty parking lot full of people wandering around waiting for picks to happen. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but We got a little bit of insight here from LeRoy Butler, what he's going to be doing, the events that he's got going on. April 22nd, party at the Bridgewater in Bayview, Wisconsin, 4 p.m. for VIP, 5 p.m. for general admission. On April 23rd, there's a pre-draft party at the Oneida Casino Hotel with Hall of Famers and former Packers. Special drinks include Leapin' Lemonade and Wisconsin-itis beer from Three Sheeps. Events require RSVP through LeRoyButlerInc.com. So if you're interested in that, check it out. He also went to talk about Rodgers to the Steelers, said that's probably going to happen. And he actually predicted that they will reach the Super Bowl. Now, I don't know if I agree with that. I kind of went down that road with the Steelers with the Jets. I don't know if I'm going to play that game again. I think it's sort of this whole plan is cooked until proved otherwise. I get that you got the coach, and I get that Rodgers still has some in the tank, and I get that the wide receivers are there, and I get it. I do get it. But calling Super Bowl after the disaster that just took place, not to mention however many years in Green Bay with great teams and coaches and whatnot that didn't get it done, predicting Super Bowl with the Steelers is quite a leap. He said that the Steelers' structure is what Rodgers needs. I think that's probably true. But again, it's one of those things that could go either really right or really wrong, depending on how that goes. But he goes on to say he needs to be part of the orchestra rather than trying to control everything, which is kind of the big problem here. We've seen Rodgers when he plays in structure. It's a beautiful thing. I think it was more 2020 with Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers kind of getting in simpatico with the offense and everything. It was really looking nice, but as things started to devolve, they devolved. He also chimed in on Jordan Love, saying he needs more ability to run the offense. Listen, I've heard 1,000 people say that. You got to unleash him. You got to stop holding him back. I've never heard anybody explain to me what the heck that means. I don't know what that means. I don't see any way whatsoever he's being held back. I see him launching 30-yard bombs down the field and missing guys 24/7, so I don't know how he's being restrained. I mean, if anything, I would go the other direction. I think he's going down the Aaron Rodgers road where he's kind of playing little backyard football too much. He's having a little bit too much fun, too much freedom. He's too panicked and scrambly and trying to chuck it, and it's like, you need to slow down. We need to rein it back in and get inside the system again. I'm not watching the same football games that a lot of other people are, where it's like, Jordan is so good, but he's just being held back. No, Jordan's playing bad. And I hope it's because he's injured. I get that, but he's not playing within structure. He's not seeing the offense. He's not seeing the defense, hence all the interceptions. He's not playing within structure. He's not throwing to open guys. He's throwing to guys that are not open, like Aaron Rodgers used to do. Like, he's getting into this little spiral that Rodgers got into, and it's about too much freedom and not being in the structure, and I don't get this. It's Matt LaFleur's fault that Jordan's playing bad because he's holding him back. Can anybody show me anything, anywhere? Give me any example of him being held back. The only thing you could possibly say is how much we're running the ball, and it's a tough sell considering that's the only thing that was working. And again, that's not really about restraining Jordan with the ball in his hand. That's just about taking the ball out of his hand, which is something that teams do when the quarterback's not playing well. But he did say try to focus on some no huddle and some tempo offense. Certainly could work on that. I don't know. I mean, we could all come up with random theories, but have to see it, I guess. But yeah, says LaFleur needs to give him the keys, and I don't know. I don't know how that's going to help anything. Went on to praise Mark Murphy for his leadership in transitioning the franchise. I think he does deserve a ton of credit. He says Brian Gutekunst deserves a ton of credit for drafting Jordan when they didn't need a quarterback, quote unquote, which again is absolutely to his credit, and we should all be thanking him for having the foresight when all of us wanted a wide receiver because we're casual fans and we just get all excited about the cool, flashy thing. We're not seeing the future, which is today having Jordan Love instead of T. Higgins and no quarterback. Except, again, they weren't drafting T. Higgins. And nobody wanted T. Higgins, so stop lying and saying that we wanted T. Higgins. Talks about Ed Policy, ready to take over. I'm excited to kind of get to meet that guy. Notes the Packers have remained competitive despite the young roster, which, again, is to Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst and Mark Murphy's credit. I mean, it was a big overhaul. Losing Rodgers, they were supposed to be the worst team in football. And they go to the playoffs back-to-back, and it's like, oh, that's a sign of failure. Really? Because they massively exceeded everybody's Everybody that's pissed right now said we weren't going to the playoffs after we lost Rodgers. So we exceeded your expectations, and now you're pretending that they fell short of your expectations. Stop being a freaking liar. Just shut up. You perpetually dissatisfied dork. Jeez. But he closed it out with saying he has 7 children, 6 daughters and a son, and 6 grandchildren. He says he has an appreciation for family and Wisconsin culture, which obviously he does. He's stayed local his entire career. He's just a super down-to-earth, cool guy. He's got various business ventures, including vodka, beer, and lemonade. He's obviously a beverage guy. But always good to hear from him. LeRoy is one of the absolute legends. He's kind of in that Bart Starr lane of just being a very rare person who is just a great human being, loyal to the team to the end, loyal to Wisconsin. I know the Stars, I think, went back to, was it Alabama, but always loyal to the region, to the franchise. Great human being, very accessible and approachable. Gilbert Brown is kind of another one of those guys. He's stuck around. He stayed in the Packers sphere. Just kind of becomes a part of your identity, and I love that. I love that you transition to just being a diehard fan, you know? You're obviously more than that. You have access to the team, and you hold events, and you obviously have, like, if you're LeRoy Butler, awards and prestige and all this stuff. But he doesn't even live like that. You know what I mean? He's not up in some mansion living in his tower. He's a family guy. He's a Wisconsinite. That's what it's the best way you could describe him. He's a Wisconsinite. He's a dude that lives in Wisconsin and is obsessed with the Packers. Oh, you mean like just every Wisconsinite? Yeah. So, love that guy. Dude's awesome. Never actually met him. I mentioned I've done like Packers events and stuff when I was younger. I don't think LeRoy Butler was ever a part of that, although that would have been potentially when he was playing, but I don't know. I don't know if it was that old. Oh, what else we got here? Super random. I mentioned last night, pretty much just stay away from these people you've never heard of before that have these sources and whatnot. I don't know who this is. Bonus time with Bruce Drennan. Let me just look it up real quick. I'll say another thing. AI, almost all of them have this great ability to make you feel like a genius. Grok is the exact opposite. It is a condescending, like, douche. Every time I do something, it's like it spends, I don't know how long being like, well, that's not a thing. It sounds like you're maybe trying to talk about this because there's an extra N in there, but only an idiot would frickin' do that. So I'm going to talk about this thing, but if you meant something else, fine, but I don't really know what you're talking about because the thing that you said, it doesn't even make sense and it's not even a thing and only an idiot would say that. So I don't know what you're talking about. It's just an entire first paragraph just scolding you for being an idiot. So I typed this in, Bruce Drennan, and it says, how did I spell it wrong? Bruce, D-R-E-N-N. Oh, I said E-N, and it's A-N. It says Bruce Drennan, and then it says, note the correct spelling. Like, bro, shut up. Grew up in Chicago. He's Cleveland, Ohio, presumably a Browns guy. 5 decades he's been doing it. Worked as MLB and NBA announcer. Hosting sports talk shows, WTAM, WKNR, color analyst for the Indians, Cavaliers. I'm waiting to hear Browns. I don't see any Brown stuff. Well, I tried to look into it. The only thing I can find is in 2015, he claimed Blatt would re-sign and later apologized after it was proven false. I don't know if Blatt is a baseball thing or what. Also some other stuff going on here that we'll just leave alone. Anyways, for whatever it's worth, he says the Browns are trying to trade for Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. Now, for a million reasons, this doesn't make any sense to me. At the same time, it's the Browns and they're stupid, and I get that. Why? You have the second pick. You can draft a quarterback. Why do you want Dak Prescott? You understand how expensive he is? I don't even know if Dallas can do it. Didn't they just pay him? You know how much of a cap hit they would take? I don't freaking know. This is what I'm talking about. Like, just don't freaking listen to stupid stuff. Will Campbell, I'm not going to play it because I don't feel like it, but he went to the podium, thought it was pretty funny. There's always this talk about, obviously, arm length and everything else. It's just this ridiculous obsession with this fraction of an inch. I mean, I understand there are lines somewhere, but It's a little crazy. LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell, when asked about his arm length, said, "For 2 years, nobody had any measurements on me and nobody said anything about my play. So now all of a sudden arm length decides if I'm a good player or not? I think it's BS." So good for him. That's a good quote. And then we'll, I guess, leave it at this. I got a couple things, but it doesn't matter. We'll save it. Defensive tackle Tyleik Williams went down doing a 40-yard dash at his pro day. So pretty scary thing, having this dude run a 40, which, you know, again, completely freaking useless. It's looking like a hamstring. He's grabbing the back of his leg. But, I mean, really, we got to watch this guy run a 40? You know, little information compared to the information they already have that 40 times is going to give him. And now he's freaking limping off with a hamstring injury. So we'll see. I think he said it was a cramp, which it might have been as well. I don't know, but scary thing, and hopefully that doesn't end up being a longer-term deal. All right, let's take a break, and we'll run through the draft's interior offensive linemen. We'll be right back. All right, part 2. I thought I could get this done yesterday, but no so much luck. So he starts off the article going over Georgia for some random reason, I guess interesting little tidbit, but Georgia nearly had their entire offensive line drafted except for Ernest Green deciding to stay. Kind of goes on to talk about how they've really revamped their offensive line program. 2010 to 2019, they only had 8 offensive linemen drafted. And again, 4 just this year for Georgia. Georgia and Michigan have had the most offensive linemen drafted the last 5 years. Georgia has had 4 first-rounders. Michigan had 1. Sam Pittman helped develop Georgia's line before becoming Arkansas's coach in 2020. Matt Lake coached for 2 years before Stacey Searles took over. All right. Guard breakdown. Tyler Booker is at the top. That is same as the consensus big board. Third-year junior, rotated at both guard spots, presumably in 2022, before starting 25 games at left guard in 2023 and 2024. 1 start at left tackle. Arms 34.5 inches, size 11-inch hands, so big dude. They never want to kick guards out to tackle, I noticed. His arms are too long to be inside. You got to kick them outside. Positives. And again, for those that are new here, the positives and negatives are coming from NFL scouts. Pretty safe bet to be the first guard taken. Big personality, very much liked at his school. There's some maturity there. Okay. Heavy-handed, flexible, strong, smart, good athlete, really good inline player, run and pass. Negatives, not a great puller or second-level guy. Not super talented or dynamic in any way, and then tested poorly. Vertical jump 27 inches, broad jump 710, bench press 21 reps were the worst at the position. Well, that's not great. The second that they have is Jonah Savanea, who is the number 4 interior offensive lineman, depending on where you want to put everybody. They have him as the number 2 guard. 3-year starter at right tackle, third-year junior with 36 starts, arms 33 7/8, hands 10 1/4, 3-star recruit from American Samoa, played prep in Honolulu. Positives. Feels like a guard all day long. He's so big and square. Put him in there just as a 335-pound mauling guard, and you end up getting a really good player. Borderline first-rounder. This guy's really powerful and will start for somebody. Impressed with athletic testing, sub 540, mustered a 29-inch vertical jump and 8'10 broad jump. He's a big, agile guy. He's got anchor strength. He can bend. Negatives. Foot quickness and overall athleticism are on the edge and will be concern for a lot of teams. When you got him too far out in space, he didn't play with his length. Slow feet, barely gets in the way, not an athlete by any stretch. Struggles on the edges in pass pro because he doesn't move his feet or adjust well enough. Number 3 is Donovan Jackson. So that is agreement there. Presumably Gray Zabel is in the center category. So 1, 2, and 3 are the same. They just have Savanea swapped. And it's actually kind of a big deal because Tyler Booker is at 26. And then on the consensus board, number 2 is Donovan Jackson at 38, just an early second-round guy. Savanea is at 60. That's late second round. So, obviously, based on some, he's early second, possibly even late first, and Donovan Jackson would be after him. But Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State, 5-star recruit in 2021, rated as the number 1 guard in the U.S., number 1 player in Texas. Experienced starter at left guard, moved to left tackle after Josh Simmons' injury. Arms 33.5, hands 9 7/8 from Bel Air, Texas. Positives. He's good, man. He's good. I have him as a second-round pick as a left tackle and a Pro Bowl player as a guard. That's some wild stuff. He can do it all. He's going to start day one and play a long time. One of the best run blockers I've seen in a long time. Long time. He can drive you off the line of scrimmage. He'll stick and stay with you, latch onto you. That's quite a hefty amount of praise there. As a Packer fan, it kind of makes you go, oh, maybe, you know. I mean, we supposedly have all this guard stuff figured out, but, you know, freaking put a Mauler in at right guard. I don't know. I guess Morgan's our new left tackle. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to do, okay? I don't know. Negatives. He would survive at left tackle. I don't think he would thrive. Well, yeah, that's fine. We're talking about him as a guard. Inline player only. He's a power scheme guy. Kind of a clunky mover, and I thought he was on the ground way too much. He's good enough to be a starter, but he's not a wow guy. At number 4, they have Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. His father, Dean, played at Tennessee Tech and had a brief NFL stint. He missed 5 games with an ankle injury in 2024. 3-year starter at right guard. Short arms, 32 1/4, hands 10 3/8. Athletic testing numbers, he had a vert jump of 32, broad 9.5, 7.38 in the 3-cone, and 25 reps on the bench. 4-star recruit from Rome, Georgia, participated in basketball and track. Positives. High football intelligence, son of a coach. Important to them from a locker room perspective and the mentality. Has a real nasty streak. He has a tackle's body. He's the size and length to play outside. Good length, good mobility, good ability to absorb. Got a good personality, seems to be well-liked in the Georgia locker room. Negatives. Just thought he was below average athlete. A phone booth brawler. Has stiffness and balance issues. His issues would be that he had some type of lower leg injury every year of his career. That sucks. Availability is job security. He's just okay. He's a gap scheme guard. Some scouts thought more about the mullet than the knee bend. Okay. I thought he was going to be better. He's not that good. He's a giant. That's what you're drafting. Next, they have Dylan Fairchild out of Georgia. So they got 2 Georgia guys in the top 5 here. 4th-year junior, 2-year starter, arms 33, hands were 10 inches. 4-star recruit from Cumming, Georgia. Okie doke. Positives. Wrestler in his background, played on the defensive line, good athlete, great balance and body control, good foot quickness when you get him out in the move, like his strength, good hand-fighting ability in short area. A lot of positives with this kid. Really tough, blue-collar type worker, does a good job protecting the cylinder in pass protection. Has enough mobility to get out there and block at the second level. Good zone stuff. Georgia kid, so he's going to be really tough. Negatives. At the end of the day, he's still that guard only, which is a little bit devalued. Quality, depth, value. May not start right away. He's a one-position only guy. Can't play center, can't play tackle. I get that that's a negative, but if the only negatives are that he's a guard, and only a guard, but he's a pretty decent guard, I mean, may not start right away is not great, but it's really, really not terrible. All right, let's take our next break. We'll come back and do the centers, and then we'll get up out of here. We'll be right back. All right, number 1 center, Gray Zabel, North Dakota State. Played on FCS National Championship Team 2021 and 2024. Started 16 games at left tackle in 2024 after playing every other position besides center, 5-year career. Okay. Arms just 32 inches, hands 9.5. His vert was 36.5, led offensive lineman at the combine, and 26 bench press reps. 3-sport athlete from Pierre, South Dakota, left-handed pitcher who threw in the 90s. Positives. Tough, physical, friggin' blue-collar brawler. Very smart. Instincts and reactions are very good. Played pretty good on the move, good bender. At the Senior Bowl, the practices were better than the game. Real deal interview. Loved the interview. He'll probably be a starting guard or center, but he could get you out of a game at tackle. That's a heck of a thing there. Tough, powerful, can move his feet, okay in space, can mirror and adjust. He'll play a long time. Negatives, he's not exactly the measurements you want, a little bit short-armed, and he's all right, does a little bit of everything okay, nothing too exciting. He's not a first-rounder at all. Again, I would love to have the 2 different scouts, or 3 or 4 or whatever. Just get the positives and the negatives in a room together to just fight it out. At 2 is Jared Wilson. So there's your third interior guy. 2 guards in the top 5. Center was number 2 overall. I don't know exactly who goes where, but this is going pretty much in order of the consensus board. The only guy being left out is Marcus Mbo, and I think they put him in the tackle group, if I'm not mistaken. So we're good. Everything is right in line here. But Jared Wilson out of Georgia, 3-star recruit as a guard before moving to center. Backed up Cedric Van Pran until this season. Longest arms, 32 3/8, and largest hands at 10 1/4 of the leading centers. Played soccer growing up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Positives. I don't know if this is a positive, but early day 3, maybe getting into the 3rd round. Probably a good 6th offensive lineman in the NFL who can have a twin backup role for the 3 interior spots. Okie doke. Good character, good athlete, natural knee bend, plays with great leverage, like his foot quicks, well coached down there. He goes back as a senior and he'd probably be a first rounder. I don't think there's really any issue there. Got all the intangibles you want in a center. Shows the ability to move people at the point in the power run game. He's also really good pulling out there and getting in space. Negatives. When you get up on him physically, he's not very imposing, and that shows up on tape in his limitations in core strength and power. He's in the ballpark of starting for like the bottom 7 teams in the league. The number 3 center they have as Eli Cox. Eli Cox. Where the heck? Eli Cox. That's not even close. They have Eli Cox on the consensus board at 312. He's like the friggin' 20th guy on the interior here. So something to keep an eye on there. Eli Cox out of Kentucky. Over 6 seasons, started 47 of 56 games, including 35 at center and 12 at right guard. Arms 31, hands 9 1/4. Vertical jump of 32, voted 2-time captain, elected chair of SEC Football Leadership Council twice in 2023 and 2024. Graduated in 2022, married in January 2024, 3-star recruit from Nicholasville, Kentucky. Why did he graduate in 2022? I don't know. Not a ton written about him, just 1 positive, 1 negative. He's a third-day guy, but he's an underrated athlete. He's a better athlete than what he really showed on tape. He'll make it. Negatives, he was not as good as Luke Fortner from Kentucky, who went in the 3rd round to Jacksonville, but better than Drake Jackson, who ended up being an undrafted free agent. Number 4, Jonah Monheim. Where the heck is Jonah Monheim? My goodness. Consensus 427. Jeez. So, okay. Southern Cal started 21 games at right tackle in 2021-2022, 12 games at left tackle in 23, and 12 games at center in 24. Arms 30 1/8, shortest of the top 7 centers. Hands were 9 1/4. Earned extensive academic honors from Moore Park, California. Positives. Moved to center because he had played guard and tackle in the past. Because he played guard and tackle in the past? So they just wanted him to have the experience, I guess? I don't know. Guys that stayed in the way and compete are smart and tough and all that definitely have chance to make a team. Whatever. Negatives. He's just average, but in a very poor class. It was a smart move to center. Imagine him playing left tackle with that arm length, and that's what he was doing in the Pac-12. I don't think he's a starter. He has all the makings of an 8th depth guy you suit up on Sunday because he can play all 3 positions. Sounds like a Packers thing to do. And then finally, number 5, Drew Kendall out of Boston College. He is consensus 283, so we're getting kind of back up, but we still skipped a ton of interior guys to get here. Granted, I don't know how many are guards or centers, but whatever. 4-year player, started 37 to 39 games at center, 2022 to 24, son of Pete Kendall, former NFL first-round pick who played 13 years. Pete scored 41 on the Wonderlic test, that's the dad. Drew has earned numerous academic honors. Arms 31 3/4, hands 9 5/8 from Norwell, Massachusetts. Positives. It's all positive from the makeup. You like his mentality. Pete Kendall's kid, great kid. He's got all that stuff going. He runs well in a straight line. Negatives. He's a center only without a lot of impressive traits. I don't think he was great lateral or change of direction mover for light in the pants guy, we'll say, I guess. I'm surprised he came out. He probably came out because there are no centers. Kind of like practice squad guy. See if you can beef him up. That is funny. There's been multiple, like one guy switched because there's no centers. One guy came out of the draft because he figured this was his moment because there's like no centers. But all right. So I did skip quite a few to make sure that we did just 10, so 5 of each, but there are others, obviously. So going back to guard real quick, at number 6, they have Emory Jones out of Louisiana State. He must be a tackle on the consensus board because I don't even see him. At 7, they have Jalen Rivers out of Miami. At 8, Anthony Belton. That's literally 3 in a row that are listed as tackles on the consensus board. And then Wyatt Millum, also listed as a tackle, number 68 overall out of West Virginia. Jackson Slater is the final one. Sacramento State, 6'3", 311, 502. He is actually listed as a guard. Consensus 127. He's actually just after Dylan Fairchild on the consensus board. So consensus seems to like him quite a bit. Then they have their next 5, Ajani Cornelius, Miles Frazier, who's also right here, Connor Colby, Josh Gray, and Chase Lund. Of the centers, they only have the 5, and then they just list the next 2. Jared Hufford of Iowa State, 6'4", 322, 514 speed, and Willie Lampkin out of North Carolina, 5'10 and a half, 279. 2 very different, 6'4", 322, 5'10", 279. All right, well, I'm going to leave it at that. Tomorrow, which is actually, it's today, the next one is quarterbacks. I don't know if we need to do quarterbacks, so we might skip a day as far as doing the McGinn thing. I'll take a look at it, see if there's anything interesting. Maybe just kind of skim it. But we'll do something else. So, anyways, have a good one. Bye-bye.